I think I finally understand people who wanted this thing so badly for so long, and after that long period, they finally get it. Their thing gets a new possibility at redemption, a new opportunity for recognition, a new chance at a better outcome. Paper Mario, finally, after 11 years, is exactly that thing for me, and is that thing that has that chance. The Thousand Year Door remake is finally out. It's out. It will always be this entity that does not feel real whatsoever. Like, it still feels like a pipe dream. Even now, holding the game in my hands, watching and playing Thousand Year Door with a beautiful new coat of paint and new small tweaks, making this already fantastic Mario game even greater, it just will not stop feeling like I'm in a mirage, like I'm hallucinating into a different reality altogether. A dream world for the best possible outcome. I can't believe this is my reality. Nintendo and Intelligent Systems, really, after all those interviews, philosophies, persistent ideals for what should constitute for a Paper Mario game, really went and remade Thousand Year Door. And that's not even mentioning how amazing this remake is. Like, I have a few nitpicks, but barring those aside, it really is a perfect remake. It's beautiful, it's faithful, an enchanting game that enchants an already S-tier Mario game. Some level design tweaks and small changes made to a few gameplay elements, the combat not feeling as much of a hurdle with the different frame rate as some were making it out to be, the graphics, the art style, texture, shading, lighting. It truly is a genuinely spectacular remake that I'll never be able to accept is a real game Nintendo wanted to put out during the Switch era. I'm streaming this remake currently. I'm gonna stream pretty much every day, if not almost every other day, until we beat the game. Gonna do troubles and recipes on my own time, but yeah, experiencing this remake in all of its splendor for the first time, but going to cherish it and take some time to enjoy it with some of you guys to join along. But this is something I pretty much have been saying since they announced this remake, all the way back, ever since Sticker Star. We passionate, loud, and angry Paper Mario fans have been asking for that classic format in both gameplay and narrative to just act as the template for the series. The series was not big whatsoever at that point, at the very beginning with Paper Mario 64, even during the 2010s, and even right now it's not all that big, but it was just some great Mario games that resonated with the few million that it did, and spoke on some level akin to Mario's mainline games for those people. For a decade now, Paper Mario was just kinda doing its own thing, not really caring much what form it would take, what ideas it would have, the developers not really giving much thought for the rampant fans who preached the splendor and brilliance of that older style. Paper Mario just spawned its own random roadmap for what it should be and what it should do, while for 11 years, we just wanted Paper Mario to go from there on to give the original RPG, story-centric, character-rich, creatively boundless formula a chance. Not even the opportunity to do so as well as mainline Mario, not even close as pleasant as that sounds, but even just a chance to fully prosper by Paper Mario's own standards, to where everyone can understand why we won't shut the fuck up. And ever since this remake was announced, thousands of other Paper Mario fans, including very much myself, have been preaching that exact thing. I don't mind games, forget Paper Mario games, that are different. You can 100% have a game go in a different direction with either mechanics or just a total formula shift and still turn out phenomenal, maybe even spawn a separate formula, especially if both can coexist. Super Paper Mario is objectively the most different Paper Mario out of all the others. Of course, there are character designs and stories and whatnot, but the combat and gameplay in particular, for better or worse, makes Super stand out in every sense. But to me, I love Super Paper Mario because and despite how different it is. But games that are well received, beloved, successful, that are derivative from a formula, that do its own thing on top, manage to flourish as a result. Paper Mario itself was already that from Super Mario RPG back in the day. It went for a completely different art style, heavily tweaked mechanics, world, etc. Mario and Luigi exactly the same thing. Beyond Paper Mario, that's how we got Mario 64, a different take with the 2D Mario formula, compartmentalized and remolded in a new axis, the 3D space. Sonic did that with the Boost from the adventure gameplay, and people, for good reason, do not prefer Boost Sonic, but there's still millions that love Boost Sonic. And then it backfired when Lost World switched up to replicate a Mario game. Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom compared to previous Zeldas, 3D Zeldas compared to top-down, Kid Icarus Uprising, the modern Final Fantasy titles compared to the originals, Persona from Shin Megami Tensei, Grand Theft Auto even. Like, there are games and series that create completely different formulas or different ideas within the same formula all the time. Video games do this every waking second. And you can have both cakes if it wounds up a success. They both wound up being good structures and formulas. That happens often. But it's another story when it doesn't go both ways consumers and the studios want. I can handle a Paper Mario game doing something different if it has something enjoyable, something good for me to get out of it enough for me to say, yeah, that's a pretty good game. But Paper Mario, for the longest time, for me just as millions of others, didn't manage to do different good. It just did not do what it was doing different that good. The most consistent, biggest aspect that takes up like over 75% bare minimum of the game being the gameplay especially. I mean, sometimes it's tough viewing Paper Mario as a series at all, forget a consistent one, because damn near every single game does something completely different. There's nothing consistently great enough in these different Paper Marios for even more people to latch onto if every installment is something appealing to a completely new crowd of people. Every other Mario subseries pretty much has some consistent formula that dozens of millions love for several reasons, and those other series flourish because of that, and they just expand on those original formulas. Even if we got another new experimental Paper Mario, if it genuinely is good like Super or the others Origami King, then sure, you have a good game. That's the important thing at the end of it. But the key thing with these consistent franchises is still having the standard anyone can recognize and understand. With that, if it's a fun, creative, and entertaining gameplay loop, then you have a successful, recognizable brand that people can get behind and will only continue to grow and flourish from there because it's consistent. Even with games like Super and Origami King that have good qualities and features, it's like some parts are good, some parts are pretty bad, but like that's been Paper Mario for effectively 17 years, and especially now, I think the vast majority of Paper Mario fans are genuinely tired of it. Oh, this Paper Mario has some really funny writing, even though every single Paper Mario has either funny, good, or both writing. It also has a good story, but it has some bad gameplay. But this other Paper Mario has some good level design, good writing, characters, but pretty bad combat, bad gameplay that's literally the entire game, and doesn't push the boundaries for how climactic, creative, and ambitious a Paper Mario setting in its entirety can be. It's this mixed bag of 1/3 of people who love this game, another third that are kind of neutral, they're indifferent, and a third that just hate it. It's that coupled with the fact that between the developers and some fans of Paper Mario, they've gone on record expressing in some manner fans, higher-ups at Nintendo, guys at Intelligent Systems, like they didn't consider the RPG-centric style a viable formula. Which hurts when Mario and Luigi managed just fine with its own style of comedy, art, and story, but has exactly, objectively, those same qualifications begged for in Paper Mario. You have multiple RPG series outside of Mario that do greater stories, grander ideas, and introduce these original, unique characters and designs, genres across the gaming landscape, just pumping out these games with the same formula for more than 10 to 20 years, especially for worse, and of course for the better. Change nothing about them, change a little bit, change a lot, change everything, change both a lot and everything. And they do big sales numbers and rave critic reviews because they get more and more people loving those series with that consistency, in tandem with that creativity and excellent game design. Meanwhile, for whatever reason, from some fans and even some of Nintendo's own staff in one way or another, Paper Mario, more than the other Mario titles, could not do anything that what diehard fans wanted? It couldn't emulate a fraction of what every other Mario game during almost a whole decade now was implementing with absolutely zero struggle. It couldn't do creative, wacky characters, deeper subplots, grander epic stories, a consistent, well-designed RPG formula that still works beyond numbers just fine for borderline any other RPG franchise out there? Because it shouldn't be? Because Paper Mario does everything what other Mario games can fill entirely? It wouldn't work for Paper Mario. Suffice to say, I 1,000,000% disagree. Say whatever you want about Thousand Year Door's backtracking, as valid of a critique that is. Even ignoring this new remake is practically patching up everything wrong people had with the backtracking. The barest of minimums, the backtracking that matters. Over 99% of people who play Thousand Year Door adore the hell out of Thousand Year Door. People who played 64 love and cherish 64 just as much. In my opinion, anyways, it is a misunderstanding if it's just excused as nostalgia blindness. Everyone who's played these games agrees these are games with in-depth strategic combat with the partners, theirs and Mario's position, the badges, games that are heavily accessible as RPGs with lower digit numbers for any person to understand, and it's a Mario game anyone can enjoy and experience because of that and the low skill barrier, high skill ceiling. It's a formula that worked, but is also a formula that is just a great one that hardly ever got the chance to really go even farther. All of this completely fitting within descriptions for hundreds of other games and how they become good or bad. All we wanted was a crumb, an iota of an opportunity for the older style. And since they announced this remake, they're giving that style another shot. Millions who've played Super, Sticker Star, Origami King, people who never touched Thousand Year Door or couldn't play it earlier, those who hear about Thousand Year Door's eulogies, why we keep eulogizing Thousand Year Door like crazy for a crazy amount of time and for crazy good reason, the fact that millions of new people are excited to play Thousand Year Door for the first time. This is easily the most celebrated Paper Mario title amongst fans, period. It's very evident the swath of excitement because it's Thousand Year Door. But the fact that it has the odds to sell and resonate with way more people, the possibility Nintendo and Intelligent Systems understand going back to this game and seeing how well it reviews and how well it sells. This is our big chance. This is Paper Mario's massive chance. The RPG formula sticks, and Paper Mario's future is brighter than it ever has been. But it's not just a big chance. It's not just Paper Mario's really big break. To me, anyways. This is, without a shadow of a doubt, the absolute biggest chance, the greatest opportunity, the highest probability Paper Mario's ever gonna have to reintroduce that older style in a new game. Within the Paper Mario community, Thousand Year Door in general, alongside the remake all on its own, have gotten immense hype behind them. It's not the same thing with Color Splash or Origami King, where some are reserved, some are excited, but others are hesitant to give it a shot, the combat, the writing, the core of what the game wants to be. Everyone who saw, played, and heard about Thousand Year Door essentially supports this remake. This format of Paper Mario, this template of Mario RPGs, was given a second chance by Nintendo. This format was given a third crack thanks to the remake of Super Mario RPG doing very well. Thousand Year Door's eulogies and RPG's praises and success, forget other RPG franchises, prove there is a clear interest in maintaining Mario RPGs. Indie games like Bug Fables, Born of Bread, Scrap Story, Java Saga, and several other indies styled after 64 and Thousand Year Door. On top of Super Mario RPG's sales success, critical success, and Thousand Year Door's legacy, there is undeniably a genuine demand for Mario-style games, worlds, mechanics, characters, and ideas as RPGs. And those indies like Bug Fables introducing new mechanics to the combat and a different structure proves that this formula, a formula done only twice in Paper Mario mind you, has way more room to create more variations, to evolve, innovate, and experiment while still holding on to those roots like hundreds of other series, dozens including Mario. It's only scratching the surface with where we're at now with this style, both in gameplay and story. By the Mario RPG standards, it doing incredibly well, easily outselling Origami King, is an idea on track to do so easily, right? Theoretically it should. The shittiest case beyond imagination can happen, but at the very least, this remake exists. It doesn't feel real, but it is, and it is at least a bone given to us Paper Mario fans at all, and with the most passion and dedication put into making our bone the shiniest, most accessible, charismatic, and polished bone our canine dentures and tongues ecstatically are feasting upon. But there are some factors that are pretty hard to deny. The support and hype this remake got cannot be understated. It is the most excitement and hype leading up to a Paper Mario game out of all the others. Nintendo did market this game way more than Peach Showtime, a game that confused people in what it was trying to be, adopting light versions of multiple game genres, but Nintendo marketed this remake considerably well by comparison, and compared to a couple other Nintendo games within the past year or two too, including the Origami King. By Paper Mario standards, it has well enough the chances to match Mario RPG and Origami King. I completely believe, at worst, it really will match those two games as they are now. but in general, it is the greater Switch crowd. The millions upon millions of randos that don't talk or preach much about games. Those with lives, not keyboard warriors online. Normal people with a modest interest in gaming. The great majority of gaming consumers, not us Paper Mario fans. The minority in the greater Switch, Nintendo, gaming consumer ecosystem. We will buy the games, you and me watching this video, at least 99% of you. I think the worst is barely not matching or just matching RPG and Origami King, but realistically worst case is probably sales around Sticker Star. 2 million would be a solid, respectable amount for a Paper Mario title anyways. It's still good no matter what type of game you are. But sales wouldn't be talked about if it wasn't true. I get some games come out because of other factors, internally, any reason at all. Sales, good or bad, doesn't always guarantee whether we get another game in a specific style. But like the vast majority of cases, sales do totally matter. We get new games because older ones sell. We get new Mario, Zelda, Grand Theft Auto, Smash Bros, Pokemon, Sonic, God of War, Horizon games, and many more big and even way smaller, successful series on a modest scale because they sell. That's basic business. That's common sense. If this remake sells about or better than RPG and Origami King, then it shows a demand for Mario RPGs. There already is with RPG's success and praise. It's only a matter of time for Thousand Year Door to fully come through with it. So the odds of Thousand Year Door reaching a wider casual audience is iffy because of Paper Mario's history, and it alongside a couple other Mario spin-offs seen as the lesser Mario franchises in general, not worth compared to the mainline games, Mario Kart, Mario Party, or the sports games. And looking at how Super went from it to Sticker Star, how it sold half the previous one, and they're giving us a bone anyways despite Origami King selling well, there is always the chance they just experiment wholly, and it's another dud and another cycle of duds for Paper Mario that I have to keep in the back of my mind. It can always underperform. It can even underperform compared to Color Splash, and Color Splash sold miserably. That probability is always present no matter what, but at worst, paralleling or outdoing Origami King is 100% logical, if not a realistic outcome or expectation. And yet in spite of that, the demand is there, the hype, marketing, and fan buildup was very voluminous. It is an accessible, casual-friendly Mario game regardless, not to mention this is on the Switch, Nintendo's biggest, most successful system ever, where damn near every first party breaks records, sells millions upon millions. It's a Mario game people are hyping up at a point where nothing major's coming out, it doesn't really have any competition, the install base being 140 million people having a Switch. Let's not also forget a month ago, Nintendo even bothered creating surveys asking fans of Paper Mario what they like and want to see out of the series. It was up for 2 days before they took it down, but it's something the hardcore crowd will 100% get and did get their hands on, completely paralleling Super Paper Mario's transition to Sticker Star, except a way more observant, dedicated, larger, and more accurate pool of people to ask. That would imply they even put stock in its hardcore crowd in some way, and it's with a Mario game that everyone who's heard of it loves it. That's not saying it's totally selling 10 million copies like a mainline Mario game. I wish! Are you kidding me? Minimum best case scenario is it outsells Super Paper Mario. Becoming the best-selling Paper Mario speaks and does way more than words can articulate, but 3.5 million-ish still is a good success. Totally logical. Just comes down to how much more regular gamers who own a Switch will care. And I can, have, and will persist on explaining why you should get Thousand Year Door, even beyond the series' history, if not for just getting a brilliant video game. Just a brilliant, charming, deliberate, and conscientious game that you should get your hands on and will near definitely have a wonderful time. But hoping and getting it sells 4 million, 5 million, hell, 6 million if we're lucky, or 5 copies. That is also totally a viable outcome as well. But either way, this right now is the moment. The opportunity, the beacon of hope essentially is the remake. At least how I feel. This game's mere existence all on its own, but it's being alongside how much effort they truly did pour in making this remake as an experience that elevates Thousand Year Door, proves there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There truly is a beacon of hope. And at this point, it is extremely hard for any excuse to be made at this point for another weird, shoddy direction when that exact decision making has been at the butt of the Paper Mario team and the series for over a decade now, and it's felt like a byproduct of outdated rules. Either there were some guidelines made, some rules were put in place during the 2010s because Paper Mario, 2D Mario, 3D Mario, etc., including the Mario and Luigi remakes in the late 2010s, as they had character supervisors in place, exactly like Color Splash and Origami King, not like the Thousand Year Door remake, which would explain those remakes cutting down on some of the more unique Magic Koopa, Toad, and other character designs. But these all went through some vanilla sterilization and couldn't flaunt any original stories or creativity for some reason. Or it was just some specific vision for some of these games, potentially just banking off classic, safe, tried and true Mario nostalgia, and nothing more, which does track when it comes to the new Super Mario Bros. Series and 3D Land and 3D World to some extent. Or there were some guidelines set, Nintendo did want Mario to be a certain way, but maybe they weren't as strict, mandatory, or necessary to follow. Or they were, and they just loosened up as time passed. As much as I feel that last one's the most likely, there were guidelines, they did loosen up over time, more and more Mario titles didn't have to follow those original rules so closely, and it just took a while for the Paper Mario team to catch on or shift gears. It's tough to say unless we're Nintendo themselves. And that's also not considering the Thousand Year Door remake could also potentially follow some loophole in that character IP team restriction, whatever. Given the original game is 20 years old, all the characters within it are more or less established already. They are pre-existing Mario characters within a more Mario-like setting compared to Super Paper Mario at the bare minimum. But even then, we have a new Battle Master Toad and a new mouse person with Ian Fumis. So again, there's not enough clarity to fully say which case was the reality. Amidst some of those more basic themed, less inspired gameplay games across some of these titles, we did still have Mario and Luigi Dream Team, we did still have Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. A couple Mario games throughout that era went for more original characters and a more uncommon story in some areas still. But that's not even factoring borderline every Mario game on Switch! At least half of the major Mario titles putting forth some interesting narrative and uniqueness to its setting. They are way more flexible in the departments Paper Mario couldn't do for the longest time. Mario Odyssey, Luigi's Mansion 3, the Mario plus Rabbids games, Princess Peach Showtime, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, the Mario RPG Remake, these and more Mario games on Switch were allowed to do what Paper Mario wasn't allowed to do up until now. After all, up until this remake, Paper Mario pretty much was the last major Mario series that felt it was needlessly, baselessly restricted. You can tell. You can very easily, painfully tell. With Origami King, they wanted to do more with some of those characters and their designs. The Shogun Studios Koopa Troop in those very basic outfits. The White Angel Toads in Shangri Spas. Origami King is partially frustrating, yet admirable, because you can see where the Paper Mario team was trying to do the best they could with what they were given, and what they could do, which does show heart and care behind that specific area Paper Mario fans wanted. But it just proves further, like every other Mario title including these two recent RPG remakes, that there was never a need for this standard to be set in the first place, at the very least when it came to the characters. Guidelines being in place at a time, and slowly ditched for more malleable ideas and game development, certainly sounds like the most plausible idea, but for like the third time I think, I definitely can't say for certain, being a grown-ass man on the internet, not working at any of these companies, while wondering, pondering, and talking about Paper Mario. Whenever we get interviews for the Thousand Year Door remake, those are going to be incredibly interesting info dumps I'm going to want to keep an eye out for. That's how we got clearer ideas of what the team wanted and what their intent was during Color Splash and the Origami King, so the team's intent for this remake and the future of the Paper Mario series is bound to be in any news articles and interviews from the team. So it pretty much is just a matter of time. Bottom line is, this right now pretty much is the golden opportunity. If any person out there really did believe voting with their wallets, if supporting this remake was truly your intention either for re-experiencing a magnificent game or proving in the most direct way to these people that this is the Paper Mario formula full stop, I'd certainly hope since the start those same people proved what they were saying. Obviously your wallet's your choice. People can use their money however they want. They don't have to listen to me one bit, regardless of how corny and naive I've been making this entire thing sound. I do hope though, just millions of people giving that backlash, those screeches, those shrieks and roars weren't just empty words, and they were words from the soul. that strategic combat worth an incentive, and a dam to keep alongside all these views and ideas for what a more unique Mario game and world can be, especially for Paper Mario. It seems to be a safe bet by RPGs and Origami King standards, but let's still hope that Thousand Year Door will at least match those numbers. Let's hope this tantalizing remake sells and is received far beyond those, beyond Super Paper Mario. And let's really hope future Paper Mario titles truly do become a standard with little to zero divisiveness. Let's really hope we do get that true Paper Mario 3. Or don't, I'm a random nigga online. It's better to think for yourself and make your own decisions. Why do you care what I have to say? Give me your thoughts and opinions in those comments. Thank you very much, as always, for watching my content. Big things are coming in the near future, this channel, Paper Mario especially, and stay super.
呀，嘿，妹妹，嘿，我来呀！